that we had raised $200 million from Northleaf Capital Partners, which is an unbelievable feat given the fact that we just started the company in 2020, right? You can see the scale and growth. And it was really centered around not just product innovation, but business innovation.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Maitsys podcast. I'm your host, Inesh Pandi, and we're back for our third episode packed with insights from the world of technology and innovation. As always, a big thank you to our amazing audience for joining us on this journey. Now, today's episode is extra special as we have a true trailblazer in the tech industry with us. Joining me today is Hooman Shahidi, the co-founder and CEO of EVPassport. And we'll be delving into the intersection of technology, sustainability, and the exciting developments in the electronic vehicle space. But before we dive into our conversation with Hooman, let's take a moment to appreciate the dynamic force that Maitsys is in the IT consulting landscape. Our goal is to bring you the latest trends, expert insights, and success stories from the tech realm. So if you're ready for a tech-filled adventure, you're in the right place. So, Hooman.
Inesh, great to be here.
I'm glad. You know, we've been working hard to get this put together for a little bit now. I'm excited to make it finally happen. But yeah, man, you're calling in from California, right?
That's right. I'm here in Los Angeles, where EVPassport's global headquarters are. We're in Santa Monica. We're a global entity. We have offices on the East Coast as well, in New York, and as well in Barcelona. And we're going to be actually opening up our Boston office at some point in the horizon. That date is to be determined, but we have a growing contingency of folks there as well.
That's awesome. To kind of give our viewers the whole story, what led you here and why did you co-found EVPassport, and where are you at that journey right now, or on that journey right now? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's really it's an interesting journey. I mean, my background, I started my career in financial services, and then from there pivoted towards technology and consulting as well. But for me, I just like solving problems, and I like helping things scale and build, impactful tools that can serve communities, right? I mean, at the end of the day, when you build something with a lot of wonderful and powerful value at great innovation, you could arguably change the world. And that's what we were focused on. And I think when you focus on the mission and the objective and not really about the reward often comes with it. And we were very lucky to do that.
That's awesome. I saw that EVPassport has expanded to 35 states and 3 countries now. Congratulations. What are some key milestones on this journey, and how is EVPassport evolving since its inception?
Yeah, I mean, we started the company in 2020. So when people were doing TikTok dances and figuring out cooking recipes, we decided to tackle some of the greatest problems within infrastructure with a huge focus on climate impact. And, our objective was pretty simple. We wanted to remove the barriers for EV adoption, both economically, technologically, and operationally. And that's exactly what we did. And along the way, we've, like you said, expanded to 35 states, 3 countries. We have almost 500 enterprise customers, and we have thousands of chargers in our network and counting. And we're actually the first ever open API charging platform that leverages machine learning and artificial intelligence in the way we look at dynamic load balancing and driver engagement. And the best part is we don't require an app. When you look at the charging landscape, everybody sort of forces you to download this app. We've been able to scale without forcing you to download an app, where you just show up, you scan a QR code, and it seamlessly integrates with your digital wallet, which is really, really important.
That's amazing. EVPassport has been described as a business to society company. How does the company integrate environmental, social, and governance principles into its operations? How does customer obsession play a role in creating great experiences and loyalty?
Yeah, you definitely did your homework. The business to society term came to me a while back, early on in our journey, because people would often say, well, are you a B2C company or are you a B2B company? And especially when we're raising capital, you spend time, knocking on doors in Silicon Valley and figuring out where do you land, because we weren't exactly a SaaS company and we weren't a hardware company, right? We were a platform. And I think the best way to describe us is exactly that, business to society, right? Because, yes, our customers, we have enterprise customers that are the asset holders. They're real estate investment trusts. They are, hospitality holding companies, so on and so forth. I mean, the diversity of customers for us has never been greater, right? You go to the Houston Rockets game at Toyota Center, you can use our chargers. You go to a multifamily location by Fairfield or National Development or Graystar, you can find our chargers. You can go to the nation's capital, and you go to Washington D.C. and you go to an office building, you might find our chargers. So it's very diverse, but for us, it's also about the drivers as well, right? And their experience and what makes them happy, and also the connective tissue in all of this is really reliability, security, and making sure that you're developing core infrastructure that not just integrates with EVs, but also has a gateway to the rest of the enterprise, the rest of the ecosystem, right? Imagine a world where, for example, you book your reservation on OpenTable, but you're also reserving your EV charging station. So your car is charging while you're enjoying your meal. How interesting would that be, right? So that's sort of the way we see this space evolving.
Phenomenal. In a recent post, you had mentioned the doubling of non-Tesla all-electric car registrations. How does this diversity in EV options impact the industry, and what role does EVPassport play in supporting their growth?
Yeah, I mean, we welcome every vehicle, right? I mean, we service everyone, both plug-in hybrids as well as full-on electric. And this is really important to us because we believe in equitable access of EV charging, right? Tesla drivers are wonderful, but so are Ford and Mercedes and GM and everybody else. I personally don't drive a Tesla, right? I have two other electric vehicles. And to me, you have to make sure you're creating a solution that services the entire community. And that's good because it gives consumers choices, and choices are always good when you have diversity, especially when it comes to EVs. And I always found out that I'm a car guy at heart, and it's part of the reason why we started the company alongside many other reasons. Um, to me, Tesla's always felt like a really nice gadget. When you look at some of the other car companies, I don't know if you've sat behind the wheel of a Porsche Taycan or a Mercedes-Benz EQS or even the Ford Lightning, which is an amazing, amazing car. It feels like a real car. It doesn't feel like this spaceship, and so to me, that is an exciting milestone in where the space is going and how it's evolving.
So what are the two cars that you drive?
I have a BMW i3 and a Porsche Taycan, so two very different ends of the spectrum.
Oh, wow, nice. So this is kind of out of my own curiosity, but your background includes experiences at Salesforce and BoozeAllen. How have these experiences impacted your approach to leading EVPassport?
Yeah, I mean, my time at Salesforce was really, really near and dear to my heart. I mean, I first of all, there's some unbelievably amazing people that shaped my time there, some of which were there. But also, it was understanding the value of the customer and how customer success is the lifeblood of any successful enterprise, right? I mean, you can hear Mark Benioff talk about it over and over again. And before that, Keith Block, the former co-chief executive officer of Salesforce, who by the way, also a Boston guy, is talked so much about how customers are the lifeblood of any enterprise. That mentality and servicing those customers in a way that delivers business value impact was super, super important in the way we created our go-to-market strategy and how we continue to evolve that. It is about our customers, and for us, servicing our customers and making sure that we're solving their problems through effective ESG measures, decarbonization measures, and creating a long-term value is really our most important sentiment. And that came from everything that I learned when I was at Salesforce and how we created a strategy there. And then when I think about my time at BoozeAllen, it was really about taking really, really important problems and solving them through critical measures and strategies, right? And how you could do that. I mean, if you can service, public sector in a really effective way, which by the way, BoozeAllen obviously does, then you can arguably do anything. And so we've taken those measures, those best practices, and brought them here to life, and it's been tremendously fun and fruitful.
That's awesome. So you've mentioned the development of an infrastructure as a service platform with integrated cloud solutions. How do these solutions remove barriers for EV adoption, and what benefits do they provide to both enterprise customers and individual users?
Yeah, I mean that is the concept of infrastructure as a service is what allowed us to raise almost $250 million in capital. In October we announced that we had raised $200 million from Northleaf Capital Partners, which is an unbelievable feat given the fact that we just started the company in 2020. Right, you can see the scale and growth, and it was really centered around not just product innovation but business innovation. And that's really where infrastructure as a service comes to life, right? Is around that business innovation piece. I think, at this juncture, we're arguably in the fifth industrial revolution when we look at, commerce and where companies are. It really is around how we create harmony between great products and how we service customers and how we deliver value to them. That's business innovation. And infrastructure as a service is the flagship product and solution at EVPassport, right? Where we go in and we go to a real estate investment trust, we go to our customers and so on and so forth, and say, hey, here's a turnkey solution that delivers the hardware, the software, the firmware, the connectivity, the insurance, the operations, and removes all these barriers for a subscription, right? And it becomes an OpEx play. And it makes things easy while they're able to achieve their particular ESG goals and decarbonization initiatives, right? But that thinking comes from understanding the needs of your customers. And so often, you have to drive a go-to-market strategy where you're listening to understand versus listening to respond.
Thank you for answering that for me. And you touched on the $200 million investment commitment from Northleaf Capital Partners. I wanted to congratulate you on that. No problem. Can you touch on how this investment will impact EVPassport's future plans and initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, raising almost $250 million is a fun sentence in itself, and we had a wonderful team effort that did it, right. I mean, we were successful in crossing that hallmark through the value that we created at each step of the way, from product to engineering to our go to market to our financial operations and so on and so forth. But really, this investment is going to allow us to earmark for further innovation, right? Both on the product side, but also on the expansion side. We want to use this to be the piston of growth for us as we look to expand in strategic areas, right? I mean, we're heavily focused in investing dollars on the West Coast, but also in the Northeast, right? The corridor, Washington D.C. all the way up to Boston, Texas, Florida, Illinois. We find tremendous opportunities, as well as Canada and Mexico in certain strategic regions. So for us, it's really centralized around growth, right, and making sure that we're going out and growing the business and in a way that's reliable, secure, and profitable, right? I mean, Inesh, we don't have any goals and objectives in terms of being the biggest EV charging network. That is not my mission. I've said this many times. We unequivocally want to be the most reliable. And by the way, we have a 99.97% uptime, which is remarkable. Every 60 seconds, our entire network phones home to Los Angeles. Every charger has a heartbeat. And we'll leverage machine learning to run diagnostics and optimal performance testing so that when you show up or whoever else shows up, that they are working effectively. That reliability factor is marquee to us. And then the security piece is really, really important. We take that very, very seriously and all the guidance that comes with it. And as a result of it, we want to build a business that's going to stand the test of time, right? There's a lot of companies in this space that, they've participated in what I call financial Furbies, AKA SPACs, and that are struggling right now, right? I mean, they've focused their business on being just a hardware play and not really scaling. And going out there and buying customers. That's not the way this works, right? So for us, we've been successful in that endeavor, and that's what the capital's driving.
That's awesome. As the CEO of EVPassport, how do you see the future of the EV industry evolving, and are there specific trends or innovations that you believe will shape the industry in the coming years?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of consolidation. I think that in the last few years, you had what I call ankle biters. A lot of these companies that said, okay, this is a ripe opportunity, is a big addressable market. There's a lot of government money, whether it's through grants, rebates, and things like that. And so they came up and they put together this slapstick solution that didn't serve customers, and now it's failing, right? So I think you're going to see all those companies fail, which is great, because it's going to deliver further value for the ones that are actually, creating true, tangible impact for those customers. So you're going to see a disappearing of some of those ankle biters, but there'll always, be some. You're also going to see a consolidation of the bigger companies, right? And then you're going to also see other industries want to participate in this space, right? Because one, the total addressable market is so vast, the opportunities there, but it's also around leveraging the concept of infrastructure engagement, right? I mean, which is what we focus on, right? We have different cloud solutions for a reason. At our heart, we really operate like a software company, and so the reason for that is you're able to leverage this necessary piece of infrastructure to create cross-sell and upsell opportunities, and that's hugely important. So seeing that consolidation, seeing some of those ankle biters, kind of sunset into the night there is going to be some of the key changes that you're going to see.
Thank you. As a leader in the EV space, what efforts does EVPassport make to educate the public about the benefit of electronic vehicles and the role of EV infrastructure?
Yeah, education enablement is the most important mission that not just we have in front of us, but every key stakeholder that touches this industry, that touches this space. Uh, you know, Most recently, there's a lot of discussion around Hertz dwindling down its number of EVs they had in their fleet and replacing them with gas cars. And I've spoken to a few members of the press about this recently. It's an interesting moment, but I think it's actually not really a product of EV adoption, but rather businesses saying, "Hey, we want to do something in a grand way," but they didn't take the time to educate their consumers. They didn't take the time to invest um, in the necessary infrastructure. And I think, you know, one of the things that we have to do is we have to continuously educate the public. I mean, there's so often you find someone that doesn't even know how to plug an electric car in, right? Well, those basic 101 points are incredibly critical to driving the mass adoption of electric vehicles. And that starts with us. We have to be servant leaders in the way we're approaching this so that we can continuously educate them. If we don't do that, you're gonna, fall short on adoption. And I think that's really, really, challenging if we're trying to get decarbonization and ESG objectives to where we want them to be.
So, collaboration with industry stakeholders are sometimes crucial. How has EVPassport worked with other companies, organizations, or government bodies to drive innovation and advancement in the EV ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time in Washington, right? And we work with different utility companies and so on and so forth. But it really, to me, the heartbeat of all of this is Washington, educating our leaders, educating the key stakeholders. I'll give you an example. I mean, Senator Maria Cantwell from Washington State has done an incredible job of advocating and educating her constituents, but also the broader American public around what's at stake here and how we can create effective measures to do so. To me, those kinds of initiatives go a long way, and make huge impact in the way we're looking at this. So for me, at the end of the day, it's making sure that we, as the leaders, and also being at the forefront of the industry, are educating our public service leaders so that they can educate their constituents, so that we can enable them and give them the tools to be successful as EV adoption and EV infrastructure is on the rise.
Phenomenal. You mentioned the importance of having the right team in business. How do you foster a positive corporate culture at the EVPassport, and what principles guide your approach to team building?
Yeah, I think the most important currency in which you have to operate under is trust, right? You have to trust that the people you have are going to have the right judgment, that are going to do the right work, and you cannot micromanage, right? You have to empower, enable people, to not just be successful, but if they fail, they have to be, they have to feel safe in failing. You can fail fast and learn fast and move forward, and you have to give them the ability to do that, and that really fosters innovation across the board, both product and business innovation. And it all comes down to trust, right? I mean, if you build that, you're able to scale. I mean, one of the things we call our organization is an ohana, right? I mean, and that came from my time at Salesforce. I loved that we were in ohana. And as you might know, ohana in Hawaiian means family, right? We look at it as a family. If my, I have a brother who's tremendously successful. He's pursuing his dental residency at Harvard. And he's a super perfectionist, right? And so often I talk to him, I say, hey, it's okay to fail, right? And it's okay for people to think about it and say, okay, well, this didn't go as planned, but what did we learn from it? And maintaining that culture is really, really critical, right? I mean, to me, you have to continuously be able to learn from one another, right? My brother is younger than me. He's 6 years younger than me, but I learn from him all the time, right? And you have to be, comfortable learning from each other and being, a steward of that, and really embodying the fact that you are the sum of your collective, right? Yes, by definition, I'm the CEO, but I learned from the analyst, I learned from, the account executive, I learned from all sorts of people, and we have to think about it in that regard.
Yeah, 100%. And for the younger audience, again, out of my curiosity, what if you're not the CEO of a $200 million company? If you don't think your friends are the right people to have in your ear, how do you get those right people in your ear? You are the sum of your friends.
Yeah, well, I think trust is one thing, but also having a strong sense of honesty, right? You have to be able to take feedback really, really well, and you have to be able to have people that I'm not saying they criticize you, but they provide feedback in a constructive way, right? I'll give you an example of someone on my team, right, who is, has become one of, the closest people in my life at spending time. He's our SVP of operations. He's a really critical member of our executive management team, Kyle Stewart. And Kyle is an unbelievably great leader. And I trust his advice and his feedback so much, right? Because he's not afraid to tell me things as it is, right? We may not always agree, but he's going to give me that feedback so I can be the best version of myself, right? And I can be the best leader for the company, and I can just grow and scale, right? I mean, it's really, really important to have that. And so, when you're looking at your friends, I mean, you might not be running a company, but just look at people that can give you honest feedback so you can be the best version of yourself. And you can do the same for them. And that's really, really critical in your journey, because at the end of the day, the journey of success can be lonely at times, right? Because it takes sacrifice, it takes discipline, it takes focus. And so you have to be able to have people that you can rely on that are going to give you honest feedback on how you can be better.
That's right. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Patrick Bet David, but I know we're going off the rails a little bit. But he often shares the 3 keys to success for most people is 1, unconditional love from one person. So for a lot of people, mom, brother, sister. Number 2, massive pain from a person they love. And then number 3, choosing your enemies wisely. So yeah, but yeah, EVPassport emphasizes serving customers and communities. How does the company actively engage with local communities? And are there any community-driven initiatives that stand out in your journey?
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to look at it, and by the way, we have many municipal customers, and we also are driving equitable access in different areas. For example, we're building the largest EV charging hub in North America, in Alpine, California. It's actually on Native American tribal land. It's the Kumekai Band of Indians. Viejas Casino is where it is. It's 426 plugs in one place, which is remarkable. And I share that because we're serving that community. We're creating jobs, we're creating opportunity, and we're driving people to those locations. And at the same time, we're also driving revenue. That's really, really important. A lot of times, you're not able to deliver solid economics while servicing the community. And I think this is a really important angle for us, an important angle for the way we're looking at the businesses. Hey, we're serving these communities by actually creating economic value for them that's going to have long term impact. And that's really, really critical.
Awesome. Reflecting on your journey with the company, is there a particular moment, I think I may be able to guess which one you're going to pick, or achievement that stands out as as a sense of personal pride or significant turning point for the EV Passport company?
Um, there's three that really stand in mind. I think the first one was when we raised our first check. I think that was really, really important. And it was a great moment. We raised our first check. From a non-traditional source, it was a VC firm that it was more boutique, that had a little bit of a spin-off from their PR media focus. And the two partners that founded the firm are just tremendously wonderful people, and the trust they had in myself, in Aaron Fisher, who's our co-founder and CTO, just went such a long way. Um, to me, that was a huge moment, and I still to this day, value that friendship and that relationship, greatly. The second milestone was, when we got our first big order, right? I mean, I remember the first time we got an order that was over $100,000. And it was a really telling moment that, my goodness, this is something that has scale, that has potential. And it was a tremendously powerful milestone. Because again, like I said many times, customers are your lifeblood. And then the third time it really was this $200 million, right? I mean, it's such a big number, and our funding journey was very, very different. I mean, you didn't see us announce a pre-seed, seed, Series A. We sort of just, we had raised capital, and you know, millions of dollars, mind you, but we sort of stayed in this quasi stealth mode. And then all of a sudden we announced, hey, we had almost $250 million. Why? Because we were just focused on growth. We were focused on doing the right things and doing them well. And having Northleaf Capital Partners, take that chance on us and deliver the value that they do, is incredibly important. And I give credit to one of the managing directors there, Olivier, who really was the architect of putting this together on their side, who just saw the opportunity. For lack of a better description, he saw the forest through the trees, and it's been an absolute joy to work with him and to help bring that vision continuously to life every day.
Do you have any words or stories for the entrepreneurs that are hard at work as we speak right now, who have not received their first big check yet and are on their uphill battle and in the trenches right now?
Yeah, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and you have to be uncomfortable being comfortable. But beyond that, don't focus on the reward, right? Focus on the objective. Focus on what you're trying to achieve. Focus on the impact. Focus on what legacy are you trying to create for your business, for yourself, for the problem you're solving. The reward will come, right? Because that, so often people are like, well, I want to go this route because I want to be a millionaire. Don't do it. Do it because you're solving a great problem and you're doing it really, really well. Everything else will come. I think, unfortunately, our society has gotten a little bit greedy. And for us, we spend so much time focused on the materialistic aspect of things. We have to focus on how we're creating impact. And I think that will make the biggest driving difference is how you're able to do that. And at the same time, understand what matters to you and why it matters to you. You have to be honest with yourself. If you do those things, I think you're going to find yourself in a very successful spot.
You shared a post on LinkedIn titled 23 Lessons Learned from 2023. I was even a fan and liked and commented on it. Can you highlight one or two lessons that had a profound impact on your leadership and personal development?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll start off with the first one. As you go through life, and you see the definition of success in society, right? It's often associated with materials, nice cars, great watches, big house, etc. But as throughout my career, as I got more and more successful, I've realized that those things don't mean as much to me. Um, you know, what really matters is family. It's the things that bring you peace and stability. Those are the things that have the highest value in your life, right? I'll spending time with my family, spending time with my brother, spending time with my parents, spending time with my loved ones. It's incredibly important. Um, I'll give you a really interesting example. This past Thanksgiving, I went over to one of my closest friends' homes, and he and his wife, a wonderful couple. They had just they had a baby recently, and I've known this guy for a very long time, and we've experienced so many things. But to spend time with him and his family and his new kid, who's, by the way, she's a little princess. It was just so peaceful to me. It meant everything, right? I mean, those are the moments that have such strong value that really shape you versus a really fast car. Don't get me wrong, I love really fast cars, but those are the things that are hugely important. And then one of the other things that's super important that's on that list is it's about understanding when you're wrong, right? I think sometimes mistakes are taken on in a different way, right? Where people say, "Oh, I made a huge mistake. I failed." It's not always a bad thing, right? It also means you have an opportunity to learn from it, but it also can mean that the universe has something better out there for you, right? That there's something greater. Don't limit your ability to be great. Don't limit your greatness just because you failed at this one thing. Just get back up and keep trying. And which it's a segue to something else I put on that list. The price of anything in life is how much life you're willing to exchange for it. So go out there and give it your all, because there is greatness around the corner. You just have to go find it.
That's awesome. For aspiring entrepreneurs in the EV or tech space, I am one of them. What advice would you give based on your experiences as a co-founder and CEO and just from your life?
Just be obsessive in servicing and valuing your customers, right? I think that is the most important part of business is whatever problem you're solving for, just remember that customer success is the most powerful tool you can bring to the table to scale. So, as you're building your business plan, as you're creating a strategy, think about how you're going to maintain and honor that objective of how do I make my customers successful? That's really, really important. And so often, in business school and business classes, we don't spend enough time on that, right? We don't spend enough time on how we can make our customers successful. We spend time on, what makes a great balance sheet and, the four P's of marketing and so on and so forth. But, we don't spend time on customer success. And really, when you think about every great company that's made really strong impact, they really spend a lot of time on customer success. And obviously, Salesforce is a pretty big example of that.
Thank you. And so for this segment, we've received a fan question. So I'll go ahead and pull that up now.
Thanks for having me on the air today, Inesh. I greatly appreciate it. My name is Michael. I am also a student here at Virginia Tech and two big fans of EVPassport and also Maitsys. So, Mr. Hooman, I just had one question for you today, and that question consists of if diesel fuel is still cleaner than the greenhouse gas emissions from the plants where the lithium batteries are made for these electric cars, and how much cleaner are the emissions, and if not, how much dirtier are they for the environment, how much worse? Thank you, and enjoy your Good Friday. Friday beers, always good. Go Hokies.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a topic of debate, obviously, right? Diesel has a lot of advantages, obviously, and it has been well adopted, around the globe, primarily in Europe. But it also has some serious downfalls. I mean, if you recall, Dieselgate, which was a product, that happened based on the VW, events that occurred many years ago. there are the obvious pitfalls there. But at the end of the day, I think when you look at electric vehicles or you look at EV adoption, could you make an argument that certain parts of it aren't as clean or whatever? There's always some piece of the story where it falls short of perfection. But overall, electric vehicle adoption has so many wonderful advantages that you're already seeing decarbonization initiatives embody that because of the advantages, right? The cleaner process, things like that. The sourcing of it, and when it comes to lowering emissions and taking on climate change and creating effective strategies that minimize emissions, we have to focus on how we can create little pockets of impact that are going to yield positivity, right? We can't let perfect be the enemy of good. And so to Michael, I say, you can have a healthy debate and it's a clever question, but at the end of the day, there's a world of data that says overall EV adoption, electric vehicles are going to do more for society, more for the communities, and create further reduction in emissions than anything else. And so there's a reason why Elon Musk has publicly said they've done more to save the planet than any other company ever, right? Well, it's because of the electric vehicles and the associated advantages of the industry, EV chargers, etc. So you have to embody that. I think it makes a big difference.
Awesome. Looking towards the future, what is your vision for the evolution of EVPassport? And is there a specific call to action you would like to share with our audience, whether it's related to sustainable practices, technological advancements, or community engagement?
Yeah, I think the vision for us is pretty simple. Let's focus on what we do well and continue to do it, at scale and build up our business and our practice, and continuously service our customers and serve those communities. I mean, for us, that's really, really important. And making sure that reliability stays marquee to our to the communities in which we touch. But at the end of the day, it's around creating further integration into the different ecosystems. I mean, we have an open API, right? We want to integrate with as many different solutions that touch an asset, that touch a property as possible, right? And, from tenant management solutions to facilities management solutions to things like OpenTable to mapping engines and beyond. And we have many of these integrations, dozens and dozens, but that's really, really critical. And in terms of a call to action, reach out to us. If you're looking for an electric vehicle charging platform solution, you can deploy an EV charging solution, a level 2 one, for as little as $99 a month, which is pretty remarkable. And then on the flip side, you can deploy a DC fast charger for as little as $1,000 a month, which is really remarkable. And you're able to keep 70% of revenue, and you're able to drive revenue to your asset, which is really remarkable. But obviously, reach out to us, ask us questions. There's no such thing as a bad question. You can visit us EVPassport.com. Email us at info@evpassport.com, or reach out to me directly. On LinkedIn, on Twitter, my handle is Hooman Shahidi, and you can go from there.
Awesome. Well, incredible insights today from Hooman Shahidi, co-founder and CEO of EVPassport. We've explored the dynamic intersection of technology, sustainability, and electronic vehicles. As we wrap up this episode, I encourage our listeners to reflect on the role each of us play in the future of transportation, technology, and business. Hooman, thank you for sharing your expertise, experiences, and the remarkable journey of EVPassport and that gecko staring at me behind you. To our listeners, stay tuned for more exciting conversations on the Maitsys podcast. Remember, the future is great, and each one of us has a part to play in driving positive change. Until next time, this is Inesh Pandi, signing off. Keep innovating, keep exploring, and keep making a difference.